What's going on, everyone? I'm Zach Lyons-Wade, and this is my 2023 in the bag. Let's go. We're well into summertime here in Phoenix, and I haven't done an in the bag still. We're over halfway through the year, so it's hot outside. I don't feel like playing today. It's right around 105, 110 degrees, so today I'm just going to do a long overdue video, my in the bag. Let's get into it. All right, unlike my Dinker Bag series, I've got a full bag here. If you haven't checked out the Dinker Bag series, go check out my other videos. It's a fun series, so check that out. Otherwise, we're going to start here with the putters. Similar to last year, I'm putting with the Logics, but this year I'm putting with the EXO Hard Logics. Last year, I think I was using the Soft. And the Hards are just way better for this weather. A lot stiffer. I like the Logic because it's a little shallower and it fits my smaller hands, easier for me to control. These have a nice consistent straight flight off the tee, and for putting, nice glide. A little faster than your typical blunt edge putter, so it's got that nice glide, nice fight. And I've been messing around with other putters, but the Logic has always been consistent for me, and that's why I'm still putting with them. First throwing putter, purple on purple Proxy. This is the Neutron plastic. For those of you who don't know, the Proxy is an awesome, very straight flyer. This is your quote-unquote point-and-shoot thrower. I've been throwing it for just over 2 years now. It's become a staple in my bag just because of the controllability of this thing. Feels really good. Love the colors on this one. This is a staple in the bag. Next up, we have the Pace by Finish Line Discs. This one's a little bit deeper of a throwing putter, much more overstable. Kind of reminds me of a Premium P2, but this one's got a little bit more glide. The forged plastic feels really good. It's got the nice special stamp there, thanks to my buddy Dylan. What I like the Pace for that I don't usually use the Proxy for is torque it on a flat angle. It'll hold that flat angle for a little bit and it'll always have that consistent finish, whereas the Proxy is kind of going to get a little turn out of that flat release. But this one, also throw it on Annie, it'll kind of slowly pan. But this one's also super controllable, just that overstable complement. Ever since this next disc came out, I've pretty much had it in the bag since. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that. And that next disc is the Glitch. The Glitch is a really fun catch disc. That's primarily what I use it for. Good warm-ups, soft floaty runs. Very slow, very glidey, very fun to use. All of them are lightweight, 140s, 150s. And it's just one of the most fun discs that have ever been made. Heading down to the main compartment, another staple in the bag, Zone. Right now I've got a Get Freaky in, a little gummier, which I kind of like because I can, flex it into that puddle top, give it a little bit more overstability, which is what I use my zones for. Sidearm approach, backhand approach, flex lines. It's just one of those discs that's not meant to have much glide, so I like having it in the bag for those approach shots. Zone is just a staple. This next lineup is probably a lineup that changes more often than any other lineup in the bag, and that's the mid-ranges. I only have 3 in right now. First one I'm going to talk about is the Mindbender. I call this the mid-range version of the Proxy, just kind of that point and shoot, hyzer flips, throw it flat, it'll turn. Very good neutral to flippy mid. Next one, new retooled Supra in the composite plastic. Nice little gold stamp there. This one's got a little bit more stability than the Mindbender, but this still has a nice straight flight. It's got all the glide in the world. When you throw this thing, it just goes and goes and goes. So that's my favorite thing about the Supra. Nice glide and very controllable. And then the last one of the 3, got C-Line MD3 here. This is an older one. Nice and flat here. I wouldn't call it overstable, but it's definitely got more stability than the other 2. Throw it flat, it'll hyzer out. Throw it on hyzer, it's going to hold that hyzer angle. I'll be honest, it doesn't get a ton of usage here in the valley, but when I'm in the woods, this thing comes in handy. MD3. Fairways and control drivers. First one, the slowest. We've got a Champ TL, really old, patent pending. This one's really sweet. My buddy Dylan stamped this one as well. It looks really clean on this old red Champ plastic. Feels really good. This one's really good for that super straight shot, kind of like an FD. Ton of glide, as it has a little bit of domage. I haven't had this one for super long, but I'm already starting to fall in love with it. This thing's awesome. And the complement to that TL, C-Line FD1, very comparable to an Eagle. Nice and flat. If you throw it flat, it's going to finish pretty dang hard. Throw it on Annie, it's also going to have finish. This plastic and this profile just feels super good, and I'm loving the FD1. A little faster here, we have Essence. This one's strictly rollers, heavy cut rollers that'll flip over. Maybe big hyzer flips, but even then it's going to have some turn out of it. But when I'm up north, this is one of my main drivers up at elevation. This flies like a dream up at elevation. A little bit of turn, but not as understable as down here in the valley. Essence is a good workable disc. Now we have Raptor Legs Firebird. This is a run from 2021, I believe. Not as overstable as like a typical Firebird. It's got a little bit more glide. It's still overstable, but this just has a little bit more glide, and it's not as heavy on the bite, which is good for longer sidearms and longer pushing backhands. Still board flat, sweet stamp, good disc. Glow FD3, more overstable than that Firebird. This is my ride or die disc. It's seen thousands and thousands of throws. This disc is very experienced, and I'm still throwing it all the time. And I've got multiple aces with it. Still has that very reliable overstability. So that's going to be in for as long as it lives. Bumping it up to the 10 speeds. Finish Line Forged Era here. This is a really fun disc, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to throw it, because this thing has glide like you wouldn't believe. Similar to your Orc type disc or Escape or something like that. Very point and shoot driver. It's got a little bit of understability, which makes it fun for the woods and makes it fun for long straight throws. So this one's really good. Love it. This is probably the most valuable disc in my bag, just talking money value. Old 2009 S-Line PD Jesse Heinonen Finnish Disc Golf Champion Edition. Very fingerprinty old red S-Line plastic. This one's a little older, so I can throw it flat. It'll hold that flat angle, maybe even get a little bit of turn, but it'll still have that reliable, consistent fade, which a PD should always have. I consider this one to be beat into perfection. This is a really good disc. Last 10 speed here. Got a first run honor. I've really attached myself to this disc. It's pretty flat, but not super flat. Very PD-like, not as overstable as a Firebird, but a tiny bit faster, and it's going to have a little bit more glide, which is exactly what I use this slot for. So really good. Finishing out with the distance drivers. First one is a bottom stamp Star Wraith, very domey. This thing is sweet. It's got some swirls in it. This one's still pretty new, so it's got a decent bit of overstability. I've already come to love this one though. Funny story. Dylan and I were practicing for the Brogy Bros battle at Vista. I threw it on hole 7's tee shot, turned it over into the water. I was devastated. It was pretty much in the middle of the lake. And we walked down the fairway and we see that it's still floating. And we're like, oh my gosh. And the wind was blowing towards the north. So it floated all the way towards the north side of that part of the lake. And we were able to walk around and get it. So this thing went through a journey. And then later that day, Dylan went home and put his stamp on this one. So this thing means a lot. Great flyer, great disc. S-Line 83, this is their new run. This one is that flippier hyzer flips. I've thrown it on rollers too. Really good for tailwinds as well. This thing will just go and go. It's a good complement to that Wraith. Next up, we've got the Purple Star Destroyer. This is a 2-time one. I think I've had this one for almost a year now, and this one's also beat into perfection. Very domey, all the glide in the world, and forehand, backhand, it's my go-to distance driver for any tee shot. It does what I tell it to do, and the flight is only getting better on it. So, love the Purple Destroyers. Then we've got this older Paul Macbeth 4-time Destroyer. Love the color on this guy. This one's from My buddy Broston, thank you Broston. This one's also super domey. Definitely a little bit more stability than that purple one, which I like for headwinds. Flex lines are even possible with this. My biggest distance shots are probably coming from this disc as well. Big anhysers, it'll flex all the way out. So this thing's a really fun one to throw. This one is probably the most fun to throw out of my bag just because of what it looks like when it flies, and it's spinning super fast. Champ X Cal, overstable. This one's getting a little beat in, so it's kind of holding that flat angle for a long time and even holding that ante for a long time, but it's always going to have that finish, which I love. This thing is just a lot of fun to throw. Stepping it up in stability, S-Line PD2. This one was given to me by my buddy Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. This thing has been in my bag ever since he gave it to me because this one's also pop toppy, very overstable though. And the plastic on this one is unbeatable. That Old Star plastic feels really good for backhands and for sidearms. Very overstable. I feel spoiled because I have the best friends who give me discs and they're always really good flyers. So I'm glad I have this. Last disc in the bag, and also the newest addition to the bag, Horizon Cloudbreaker. This thing is absolutely freaking overstable. It's an absolute hog. This one's also domey. I like my distance drivers domey, so they've got some glide as well. But this thing is super overstable. 30-mile-an-hour headwinds, it's going to hold up. Stupid overstable driver, and this one is really fun to throw. All right, and that's going to do it for the 2023 in the bag. Arizona States is coming up, and that's going to be up in Pine Top, which is, I think, around 6,000 feet of elevation. And my bag is going to be completely different. So I think I'm going to do another in the bag when that time comes. It's in about a month and a half from now. And that'll be filled with a bunch of different stuff. So I will do that when that time comes. But for now, this is the Phoenix bag. Thanks for watching. Let me know if there's anything you want to see next. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching.